review of council's naming policies and draft replacement naming policy. So welcome Ruth and Elizabeth. You want to talk us through an introduction?
Yep, sure. Kia ora koutou. Thank you, Madam Chair. So we're proposing a draft naming policy for community consultation. We've got an updated draft set out in the amended attachment that we've tabled, and councillors will recall community boards have asked for improved guidance around naming. We're not aiming with the policy to change the processes we follow. We're aiming to wrap better guidance around those processes for community boards, for developers and for the community, and also to support names that really have that meaningful and enduring connection with the place. There are a couple of changes outlined in the updated policy, which we've tabled, paragraph 12 and paragraph 14, and we can speak to those if members need additional background. But the proposal is to adopt it for consultation. There'd be a hearings process, and then council would consider a further draft later in the year.
Righto. So is everyone aware of the attachments with the changes in there? We've got questions, one from Sarah, Mel and Andre.
Thanks. Just a quick question on facilities that are operated by, say, Venues Otautahi, so someone else that council owns. If a facility has a name that has been resolved by council and is already in existence when it's handed to the other agency, what would be the expectation there? Because it, you know, if we're looking at sponsorships, those kind of things, like if we've already got a resolved name, it's not kind of dealt with in this, and I'm just wondering.
So the policy is focused on permanent names. We're not aiming with the policy to touch on those commercial processes, apart from briefly in paragraph 13 and 14. So there's separate contestable commercial arrangements around naming and sponsorship. I would expect that that permanent name is permanent, and there would be, and then the.
But it doesn't talk about whether we could have an extra
name. That would normally be the case, wouldn't it? There's a kind of permanent name for a facility.
So, for example, we have the Christchurch Town Hall,
yes,
which never has a sponsorship name. You know, it is just the Christchurch Town Hall, even though it's operated by Venues Otautahi. Yep. And I'm just wondering, and yet, you know, I was going to say Horncastle, but it's now Apollo Projects. Oh no, that's the stadium, Apollo Projects, and then there's Brookfields Arena. I guess I was thinking they don't have a different permanent name, if you like.
I was thinking of Te Kaha, which has that permanent
kind of what I'm
name.
getting at, but I didn't want to. Yeah, I just wanted to say it's a resolved name.
Yes.
There is, the policy provides for temporary or sponsorship names in that sense. So,
but that wouldn't replace the permanent.
No, it wouldn't replace the permanent name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would worry that a resolved name, so like Christchurch Town Hall, for example, if Venues Otautahi decided that it could get some sponsorship for the town hall to save on operating costs or whatever, and it became the, you know, the something hall, then people would stop using Christchurch Town Hall, for example. I don't know.
I think that the requirement for no surprises and would come into play. The council continues to own, is the owner. I mean, and I can't see Venues Otautahi embarking on such a thing without being involved, you know, meeting the no surprises policy, consulting with the council.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe not for the policy, but maybe that's a conversation we could have with VO about that at some point.
It may very well be that it could be a guidance note.
Guidance note, yeah.
Or something like that, you know, if there is a formally resolved name by council, then that is the...
Yes.
Then that is the name.
Because subsequently, if we've formally resolved, then communicating with Venues Otautahi via letters of expectation and the like, that could set out the council's expectation around the resolved name and then any separate commercial process for naming rights.
Okay.
I don't see why they can't work together.
I think we need to just have a look at that.
Yeah,
but it may not form part of this.
Yeah, I think, Councillor, I don't think it prevents you from agreeing the policy if you choose to do so today, but we're
Yeah,
aware
this is
of
for-
the
Yeah. Like, that's
agreeing
great,
the
thank you.
policy for consultation. Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
Happy to do that.
Mel?
This is good. It had in there guidance around, for instance, like short streets having short names. Now that kind of stuff is good, and we haven't had that guidance in the past. And I actually wonder for some streets we've named if the names are going to be too long and they try to map them, because we haven't had that sort of guidance when the decisions come to the community board, especially when you get a whole list of names that are alternates. So I guess what my question is will guidance come from this policy once from this guidance into the reports, and then also be verbally told to boards when we're making a decision, so we're not contradicting what's in here?
I think the helpful thing about this policy, as opposed to the existing policy, is that it will support, provide a checklist effectively for the report writers who recommend, so that they can say that it, complies with this. Yes. So that is the purpose of it, to be more supportive, so that the advice is clear, that it provides the opportunity for community boards to say, well, that name doesn't seem to fit with, which is one of the things that they were concerned. They have expressed concerns about, not only lack of diversity, but a lack of actual guidance about what's an appropriate name.
Cool, great.
Thank you. Andre?
Thank you. I've enjoyed being part of many road namings over the last few years with all the new builds around Hallsville. So many new road names. What I'm hoping to find out is that the process has always seemed pretty good. Factors in things about the local area. We are often ending up with a number of te reo names. What about the guidance is not working as well as it could currently, in your view, that needs to be changed when setting new road names specifically?
I guess the clarity, is like short. I mean, we've just had an example like short names for short roads.
Yeah.
The board for Hallsville previously have raised issues about a lack of diversity in naming. I think in some ways the policy is catching up to the practice. Yes, I guess it makes it clear. I mean, it's not that this occurs very often at all, but the business about not naming a road after someone who is living, and that has arisen at some community boards recently, whereas it's a practice, almost universal practice, that as a rule you don't name a place after a living person. Yeah, so just making it clear that that's not likely to be an acceptable name.
And why would we never name any road after a living person?
Really, it's not never, because this is a guy, this is the policy. So there are, of course, exceptions, but the problem is that there can be a change in people's reputations.
I just note that skeletons can come out of a closet, of course, after someone's passed as well. So the risk is always there to an extent. Someone might have passed away 50 years ago. Oh, then you find out about all the things they got up to. They've definitely got a different rule in Texas because there's a Justin Bieber way in Texas, believe it or not. The part on changing road names. So,
Yes.
as I understand it, so currently you need agreement from 85% of the street.
Yes.
And so the new policy would remove that requirement. I'm wondering why you wouldn't have just considered maybe requiring 50% or something along those lines. And also, do we have regular occurrences where we need to be changing our road names? And what kind of reasons do we need to be changing them?
No. In fact, as far as I can tell, in the last 5 years, there's one underway, a possible road naming, but ignoring that, there have been 2 changes to road names in the past 5 years.
Yeah.
And one was a very minor change to the spelling to actually reflect the name of the person it was named after.
Yeah.
And one was a name of a road which the development is only starting, so no one was affected effectively. There weren't. There's very few. We don't want to rename roads because of the difficulties they cause.
No.
Residents.
As you said, this is a policy though, and it is going out for consultation. So I think
So if we're not renaming roads, anyone have no desire to. I'm just wondering why there's quite a substantial policy change on this, and why you wouldn't consider just lowering the percentage requirement of street agreement as opposed to removing that requirement altogether.
It's just to make sure other factors are taken into consideration when the renaming decision is considered, and not sort of solely the views of the
Current
community.
residents, for example.
You know, other factors are in the mix, and there isn't a sort of a yes or no opportunity for the community.
Yeah.
And obviously, community views are going to be one of the factors, but it's just making sure that range of factors are going to be taken into account.
Okay.
okay.
Well, thank you.
Tim.
Yeah, thank you. I was just thinking with regards to if maybe put up the wording for the CCOs just so people, the councillors have a bit of, because it now says to must have regard to.
Yes.
I just thought that it might be a bit easier to do that, because we do have our statement of intent to the CCO is agreed to, and then their statement of intent back to us. So there are some safeguards there if ever there are any concerns with regards to that. But I think it should be. But the comment with regards to when we meet with our CCO with regards to this issue, to have a good discussion with them would be really good. Just to set anyone's concerns would be good.
So I've suggested a noting provision so that there is just reinforced guidance before you come to the point of making this decision after you've gone to consultation.
Yeah.
So you put that in then, not now.
Some council.
No, to note that we will
Now?
provide. Yeah. Just as a noting provision,
So you-
not as a
No, are you working on
recommendation.
that, on the wording now? Great,
So it's
thank
up there
you.
now. So that's
Kelly? Thanks, Tim.
Thanks for clarifying a few things there. As you know, I'm particularly interested in the Kingsbridge Drive, Kingsbridge West conundrum, having gone out there and actually knocked on doors and consulted a lot of the people in those streets. The 85% threshold, in a case like that, would you ask all the people who live in a street named Kingsbridge, either west or...
I'd say it's engagement team practice where you've got something specifically affecting people in terms of their street address. Yes, you would specifically consult with those people who are directly affected as well as the wider community. I believe that's our engagement practice. Yes.
And so just to get 85%, would you sort of propose a change and then ask the opinion looking for the 85% or less? Or... you know, I'm just interested in how you would structure the questionnaire or the question, because I would think that from my experience, like probably 50 to 60% of people were keen on this particular change, and there were a lot of others who didn't really care, and there was no one who was opposed. Do you know
So
what I
the
mean?
plan is just to take out that number threshold,
Yeah.
so that we can have a broad range of factors taken into account. But yes, the affected community would always be consulted, including those specific people whose street address is affected. I mean, they may get a door knock and conversation, as well as a specific letter.
Yeah. So you're not going to die in a ditch over the numbers. You're sort of getting a really good impression. Yeah.
In terms of the policy, it doesn't mention a percentage at all.
Oh, okay.
What the issue for Kingsbridge and Kingsbridge West is possibly whether if there is a significant issue in regard to wayfinding. So, can emergency services always go to the right address? You know, is there a lot of confusion? What is degree? It's not a...
Yeah.
The whole point of taking the number out is to get rid of the number as a whole, you know. You get the change because you cross the threshold. And then even the number is problematic, because are you including those people who respond? As we know, many people don't respond. So is it 85% of those people who respond, or 85% of people? And,
That's not useful.
They do respond if you bash on their door. Thanks for that.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Kelly. Tyrone.
Thanks, Pauline. So, with regard to Te Reo names,
yes.
so where they pre-exist
Yes.
and they may have been applied in the past without necessarily consultation with mana whenua or anything like that, like they would have, where just some broad Te Reo adjectives or nouns were used for street names,
Kowhai
like
Street.
Whittle
Yeah.
or
Remove Street.
Waipapa or whatever. Is there that's just let that lie kind of thing? Is there any kind of sort of
The
revision on that?
what is
I'm not saying there should be. I'm just kind of interested to see how that will play out.
So mana whenua have clarified the
Yes.
naming they are interested in, and it's not, everything, every
No.
cul-de-sac. It's the particular, I forget the provision, but particular reserves, is it significant
major
roads?
significant
Yeah.
roads.
So that's what they are
Metropolitan
interested to engage
facilities.
on, not, a whole lot of other roads, renaming of existing names. That's their area of interest in, and that they can resource, really, because they don't have endless resources, and that's what they want to focus on.
Right. So what has been, and
Yes.
let sleeping
Yep.
dogs lie and all that sort of stuff, kind of thing. Yep. No, that's cool. Okay. Thank you.
Great. So no more questions on that. So as we say, we're approving it for consultation anyway, and Dawn has put
Just pop the
noting.
noting provision up, please. Oh, it's gone.
noting that the council will be provided advice before a final decision is made regarding a facility that has an existing permanent name and is potentially subject to a commercial sponsorship deal. So I think that's helpful for Sarah.
So, my question really is it even open to a sponsorship deal for the naming? It's not just providing advice. Do we actually get to...
So I think it's more subtle than that in reality, and I don't think it's appropriate to try and constrain it at this point.
No.
I think we need to have a clear conversation, as Tim has Councillor Scandrett has suggested,
That's what I said
and give you proper advice.
before, so if we can have the conversation with VO ahead of this coming back.
That's
that would be
exactly
great.
why it says provide advice before a final decision is made regarding...
Sorry. It looked like a decision on the name as opposed to a name on a decision on the policy. Can we just add in the policy?
Yeah.
After decision,
Because I read it as the name,
Yeah, no.
not the policy.
policy.
Yeah.
that's clear.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's great. Okie doke. So, have you got a timeline of when this is going out?
There's quite a lot of consultations going out, and so we're going to engage with our engagement team.
Right.
But the intention is to put this policy out alongside the outdoor dining and public places policies. Both of them are public policies about public things, and go out later this month, and for so July, August.
Okay, no, that's great, thanks. Alrighty. Is anyone keen to move this?
Happy to move or second. Doesn't matter.
Tyler. No, I think Tyler, you can move this. That'd be good. And seconder. Mark. Is there any discussion or debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed. That's carried. Thank you. Good bit of work on that. So we are up to 19, am I correct?
Yep.
Amendments to delegations. And once again, there's an update